I caught my husband calling our autistic son a burden and wanting to give him up for adoption. I cannot believe he said such things behind my back. I don't think I can live with him anymore. AITA for wanting a divorce. Was he correct? I 30F have been married to my husband, 32M, for 5 years. We've had our share of problems like any couple, but this one's really shaken me to my core. We have a son 5M who was diagnosed with autism about 2 years ago. Of course, it hasn't been easy, but I love him with all my heart. He's sweet, and despite the challenges, I could never imagine life without him. Lately, my husband has been acting different. He's more distant, like he's checked out emotionally. I chalked it up to stress from work, or maybe just that we're both overwhelmed trying to balance everything. But then I overheard something that I can't unhear. He was talking to a couple of his friends, and they were discussing kids, parenting, etc. One of his friends made some offhand comment about how hard parenting is, and that's when my husband just let loose. He started saying how our son is too much to handle and that he feels like he's a burden. He even mentioned that sometimes he wishes we could give him up for adoption. Like what? I couldn't believe it. At first I thought maybe he was just frustrated and saying things out of anger or stress, but he kept going. He wasn't just venting. He said he missed the freedom we had before becoming parents and that he thinks it would be better for everyone if we weren't stuck with this life. I was absolutely crushed. How could he talk about our son like that? I would never give up on him. Not for anything. He's not a burden. He's a beautiful boy who just needs more understanding and patience. Hearing my husband say those things about him just shattered me inside. When I confronted him, he brushed it off, saying I was overreacting and that he didn't really mean it, that he was just blowing off steam with his friends. But how can I not take that seriously? He's literally talking about abandoning our son. He didn't apologize. He said he's just overwhelmed and feels like our son's autism is taking over our lives and that he doesn't know how much more he can take. But instead of working through it together, he's talking about running away from the problem. Now I'm stuck. I don't know what to do. I feel like I can't stay with someone who sees our child as a burden. But I also feel so torn because we're married, and I thought we'd always have each other's backs, especially when it comes to raising our child. But if he's really feeling like this, how can I trust him to be there for our son and me in the long run? I don't want to break up our family, but I also can't stay with someone who could even think about giving up our child. I love my son more than anything, and I will never allow that. So, AITA for wanting to leave my husband after this? Should I be trying harder to work this out, or is it too far gone? Our prenup ruined our marriage. My fiancé is demanding me to give shares of my company to his daughter. He has nothing to offer for my children. I cannot go through the wedding and canceled our engagement. AITA. IF37 recently got a lump sum for a career project that turned into a whole company. I got into an agreement with a company that has been reselling my services via out-licensing and long-term corporate JVs. When I signed the paperwork, I felt like I had the opportunity to build a financial future, but my relationship wouldn't be affected. This has not been the case, and I'm very put off, to the point of breaking our engagement. We've been together for 4 years. I met him on the last leg of my struggle to get what has become my working life's motivation. This project has been all-consuming, and aside from that, I only had time for my family. I have very good friends, but everyone is busy. I didn't date or go out. When Sean M43 came along, I was swept off my feet because I wasn't expecting to find someone that I liked so much. We shared the same sense of humor, and I became really attracted to him, both emotionally and physically. Sean is divorced. He has average office assistant skills and works for a small government agency. Our salary gap was not a huge deal as I invested a lot on my project, so whatever money I kept for myself went to my priorities that are non-negotiable. I take care of my family and pay bills. He did have hobbies that he spent time on, but when I met him, he was in between jobs and had to wait 4 months until he became active at his new job, at the agency. We were both thin on money. I was very happy to have a guy who didn't pressure me to wear certain styles. I'm more of a flats and comfy clothes lady. When my ex before him demanded that I look trendy and said things that nullified my self-esteem, I knew he was on food stamps, very briefly, and chalked it up to a bad situation that was temporary. There was huge mutual acceptance. We tried to start a small consulting company, but it didn't work out. I noticed that he wasn't ready to co-manage, and after a long conversation, We mutually decided to call it off. We had been talking about marriage for a while, and when he proposed, the subject of a prenup was no surprise as we had already agreed on having one. Even if I had nothing, I see it as a way to protect ourselves and each other from potential situations. I'm in a niche market that deals with loss prevention, and I've seen people getting into lawsuits. We had drafted a plan but had some tense moments. He closed off at the lawyer's office and created a tense environment during our second meeting. Nothing that we had agreed on was getting followed through, and he kept asking for things and raising the bar. He got his own lawyer, which would have been okay except that he never told me, and his attorney showed up and I didn't even know he'd hired one. We had to pause the prenup after he almost bit my head off outside of my lawyer's office when I refused to give his daughter shares of my existing company. That's a no-go for me, and I'd rather stay unmarried. I built that company to leave something to my children. I'm the only parent looking out of them as my ex has been kind of a deadbeat. Sean wasn't even in the picture when I started it. I will not create a trust fund for his child either, like he asked. None of this requests had been previously discussed but came up once his lawyer showed up. I did agree to help her financially, give her an allowance, and help pay for a car. I also agreed to pay full health insurance and contribute to her college housing, plus contribute to her education. She has a successful mom, so my logic is that she already has someone willing to give her a good start in life, since Sean isn't financially able. His daughter is an adult 18F while. My kids are in grade school, and I need to make sure they are taken care of while she's already at an age where she can get a job. I offered to contribute to a fund for her first home, but it seems like nothing I offered was good enough. I love his kid, but I didn't raise her, and she will never see me as her mom, and I respect that. Her mom's family owns a business, and her mom owns her home in a very good area. It's not like she depends on me to have a good life. I wanted it to be fair since her mom, Sean, and I could contribute. So Sean and I had an argument because he sent me a breakdown of how much I'm supposed to make off my business over the next few years. I lost my temper because it felt like a gotcha situation. I confronted him about my own kids and asked what he would contribute to them. He went silent, so I said I wanted their names on the deed to a piece of land that he owns, but hasn't been able to develop because he doesn't have the funds. He was surprised and accused me of trying to dilute his inheritance to his daughter and being generally unfair since she has less than what my kids will end up having. I just wanted him to see my point, but I made things worse. We used to be able to talk outside of the prenup, but now, if I don't get his sarcasm, it's his dry behavior that's driving me crazy. He said he's surprised at my greed and accused me of othering his child. I'm trying to figure out if I came across as a bad stepmother. Also, I'm not ruling out helping all our kids start their own businesses if they want to, but I can't guarantee its success since we are not there yet. Canceling the engagement sounded like the most sensible decision, and I'm astonished this is actually happening. I don't know how to navigate. His last messages have been very hurtful, and he says I'm showing my true colors and told me thank you for my dishonesty about how I truly feel about his daughter. My best friend is pissed and threatens to put him on blast if he keeps this up. I'm confused since I didn't expect our relationship to end like this. AITA, my Muslim classmate, lied to me, Indian, and fed me beef just to mock my religion. I took revenge by feeding her pork. She's flipping out and accusing me of destroying her religion. Revenge is a dish best served cold. AITA, my brother asked me to post this question because he doesn't use Reddit. I, 21M, am an Indian studying in USA right now. I went to a birthday dinner to a friend's house where many of my classmates were present. Some of the food was cooked by my friend's other friend, who is our classmate M. I don't want to call her my friend because of issues. Now M knows I am Indian, and we have a strong culture of not eating beef as we have religious ties to cows, and we treat them as our mother. We have had numerous discussion on this topic in one of our class as we had to dive into other religious cultures for a project. M has strong opinions of Indians calling cow as mother and had ridiculed my opinion in past. Coming to the party, I asked my friend to let me know which dishes had beef so I could avoid it. She told me to ask M told me some stew was vegetarian. I tried it and immediately knew something was wrong. I asked her if she was sure, and she made a surprise face and told me, "Oh no, I think I switched it with beef stew." I was honestly enraged because I am 100% sure she did it on purpose to mess with me. She was giggling on her way out, telling our other friends I am a softie. This is where I may be the asshole. I do cook food for my friend group from time to time as they like the cuisine I prepare. Everything I prepare is always vegetarian. But this time I added pork in a cutlet and passed it to my friend group as something new I tried making. We all were sitting together and sharing meals when M shrieked about the cutlet having pork in it and made a big show of me trying to destroy her religion. She's Muslim. My friend group is divided. Some say I should have mentioned it if I made a non-vegetarian dish, and some say it was M's fault to eat it from my lunchbox without even asking what it was. AITA, because I was being petty and vindictive, but now I feel bad as my religion doesn't teach me this and I never wanted to stoop at M's level.